When you are in a relationship that is completely one-sided, you will not reach your goals. You will begin to self-doubt. You won't even recognize what your goals are anymore because all of your energy is spent on self-doubt and trying to fix a relationship when you're not the problem.
Welcome to TYRO TV. I'm Ron Tijerina.
And I'm Cathy Tijerina. And today we're asking the question, can you fix a one-sided relationship?
Have you ever been in a relationship where you're the only one putting in all the work in order for it to get anywhere?
And if so, you know how exhausting that can be. We have worked with tens of thousands of couples, and we see over and over again that couples that are really struggling is because it's a one-sided relationship. And so today we're going to dig deep and figure out, number one, are you in a lopsided relationship where it's only one-sided? Number two, how do you know if you really are in a one-sided relationship? And number three, can it be fixed?
Now, number three is really what we're going to focus on. Can you fix a one-sided relationship? You know, a lot of times in life, we always struggle with just knowing who we are, our personal self-existence. But when you're in a relationship with somebody, are you putting effort into making the relationship grow? Or are you suffocating it? Are you the one putting in all the barriers for your relationship to go nowhere?
As we talk through today on one-sided relationships and whether or not they can be fixed, we're really going to be talking about a healthy versus an unhealthy relationship and how to navigate through that in a way that protects yourself and ensures that you're building a solid foundation for the future. Now, as you look at your relationship, I am sure that you're going to start to realize, wow, here are some areas that we need to put in some effort. But our hope is that you'll also be able to figure out whether or not the relationship you're in is a healthy relationship, and if it's not, what you can do about it.
In a relationship, you can find yourself in one of two or maybe even three different categories. You can be selfless, selfish, or independent. So the question I'm going to ask you is, are you selfish in your relationship? You know, when you're dealing with a one-sided relationship, that's almost toxic. In fact, it can be toxic to where you're bringing all this poison into something you think you love, you think you want to cherish, but really you're the barrier. You're the one that's holding back your life together, your life in a world where you can grow and you can thrive. You know, when I think about a one-sided relationship, I have to really be honest and talk about my own self in a relationship. Because I know when we first got together, it was one-sided. It was all about who? It was all about me. And in that case, it was a very toxic relationship.
And toxic relationships suck the life out of you. They are detrimental to you as an individual and also to your partner. So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to break down what is actually a one-sided relationship. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm Ron Tijerina.
And I'm Cathy Tijerina.
And together we have been working with tens of thousands of couples for the last 2 decades.
And we have been helping couples understand that nobody's right and nobody's wrong. They're just each seeing it from their own perspective and unable to bridge together.
So when's the last time you were in a discussion with your significant other or your spouse and you had a disagreement over something so small that turned into something so big?
So many of the couples we work with have this experience where they argue about something because they only see it from their own perspective.
So I'm looking at it from my vantage point, and guess what? Frankly, I only want to see it my way, because it's my way or the what? The highway.
Over time, what happens is these issues start to pile up and they create more and more distance between couples. And so now we're arguing about every small thing because we have to defend our perspective.
As we began arguing, it really was apparent whose side I was on. I wasn't on her side and she wasn't on my side. In fact, we were on opposite teams.
We became enemies, and what was more important for us was to be right than for us to actually understand each other. When couples do this, they continue to erode their relationship. What you need to do is get the issues out from between you, move them out in front of you, and remember that you're a team able to navigate through anything together by seeing all sides of the issue.
Now remember, there is nothing more important than us.
In this dynamic program that's internationally recognized, you're going to learn how to resolve conflict, how to get on the same page and listen for understanding. Couple communication, which was written by Dr. Sherrod Miller and Dr. Phyllis Miller, will actually help you be on the same team and recognize the power of resolving conflict together.
One of the greatest tools that you're going to embrace is really coming to the understanding that what you've been doing is natural, but this is learned behavior, and we're about ready to take you to a next level on how to enhance your relationship.
Now, if you're sick and tired of having all of these petty issues come between you, if you are exhausted from every time that you have interaction with your spouse, it turns into drama, then this is where you want to be. You want to sign up for couple communication. You want to take this program together, and I guarantee you that you are going to love it.
Stop telling yourself that tomorrow you're going to do better. Stop saying to yourself, tomorrow I'll find that program. Today's your opportunity to do something not only for yourself, but for all those around you.
In couple communication, you're going to learn a brand new process. This process is going to help you avoid ever fighting over petty stuff again. It's going to take you to a new level in your relationship as you learn how to listen for understanding, to clearly articulate and share from your own experience. You're going to get on the mats. You're going to have notepads. You're going to learn skills that you're going to be like, wow, if only I had known this at the beginning.
It's not too late. We are all on this journey. We are all on this continuous improvement plan. But guess what? You have to take the first step and let today be that first step for you and your significant other.
If you're ready to like each other again and be on the same team, this is the program for you. Sign up today.
Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron Cathy.
And I'm Cathy Tijerina.
And today we're asking the question, can you fix a one-sided relationship?
Now, before we can actually ask that question, we need to make sure that we are all on the same page about what a one-sided relationship looks like. So during this segment, we're going to break down and really talk about what is a one-sided relationship.
You know, what comes to mind right away for me is it's my way or the highway. Would that be a one-sided relationship?
Absolutely. You are designed to just meet my needs. Don't expect anything from me, but I expect everything from you.
Well, woman, when I get home, you better have it the way I like it, that food hot, prepared, have my clothes ready to go. That's how I want my life.
Yeah, you better commit to me, but I'm not sure I'm going to commit to you. That's what that looks like, right?
A one-sided relationship.
And so if you're putting in all the effort and you're spending all of your money and you're giving, you're constantly on the defensive, constantly having to explain yourself and to defend your position, and you're constantly feeling like you're always in the wrong, you're probably in a one-sided relationship.
You know, in a one-sided relationship, when you think about it, somebody is dominating the other person, not allowing the other person to have any opinion, any type of expression. They would expect that person to be there when they desire them and not even allowing that person to grow.
It's almost an ownership, right? So when you're in a one-sided relationship, one of the partners is being objectified. You're not really being cared about or cared for. Or if you're the one that's actually not putting in any effort, you don't care about the other person. You're just in this relationship for the convenience of maybe it's the money, maybe it's the sex, maybe it's having somebody on the outside that you can connect to. But you don't really genuinely feel bonded or connected to that person. You don't really care about them. Now, it's really important to recognize the difference between seasons where maybe things aren't as exciting in your relationship as they used to be. That's different. We're not talking about the phases of relationships. We're talking about when one person is constantly gaslighting the other one, when one person is constantly playing the victim, where one person is playing off of the emotions of the other person in order to take advantage of them, but there's no real relationship between the two people. That's a one-sided relationship.
You know, we're talking about manipulation. We're talking about dictatorship. We're talking about you controlling the whole situation, the whole relationship, the whole household. You know, when we think about objectifying somebody, what comes to mind is, just so you can get an understanding of what objectifying looks like. When you go to a movie theater, for example, when you go to a movie theater, you meet the attendant at the ticket office, you buy the ticket. Do you stop and have a conversation with that person, or do you just get your ticket and you go? Right? Yeah. That's what you do. You objectify that person, and that person who gives you the ticket is okay with that. They're okay with being objectified. They have a job to do. They're going to give you the ticket. Go about your business. Don't stop to talk because I'm working. right?
And that's okay. They're there to fulfill a purpose. You don't care if they've had a good or bad day. Now, in a relationship, that's not okay. That's a one-sided relationship. When only one party in the relationship is giving everything they have and constantly accommodating the other person and never feeling like anything they do is right or good enough, you're in a one-sided relationship. And it's really, really important to recognize the difference, because I'm going to go back to something I said a little bit earlier, and that is every relationship goes through phases, especially if there's some sort of traumatic event. Somebody goes to prison, there's a death in the family, a loss of job, a loss of position. Something changes dramatically, and your relationship can go into a stagnant state. Now, you have to fight together to get out of that stagnant state, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about that one person in this relationship is completely self-centered, not willing to give anything to the other person. And that's a very unhealthy relationship.
You know, when we think about children, when we think maybe a toddler, right? That's a one-sided relationship. It's all about that individual, the toddler, their way or the highway. They would demand, they want their diaper changed, they want their milk, whatever it is. And that's okay. We expect that type of behavior from a toddler. But when you're an adult and you're having a relationship with somebody and you're still wanting your cake and icing and ice cream and all that too, but not willing to go into the kitchen to prepare the meal, to prepare anything for it, you expect it hand delivered to you all the time. That is a one-sided toxic relationship.
So it's really important that we build the foundation that you understand what it is when we're talking about when we say one-sided relationship. When Ron and I first got together, like as we look back now, we realized that actually we were a no-sided relationship. So each of us came into this relationship kind of broken, and each of us expecting the other person to put in all of the effort. And so we had this physical connection, but that was it. And so we had actually no relationship. And so that's the extreme of an unhealthy relationship.
And you know, and the only time that I would put effort into the relationship was when I wanted something, right? I would be manipulating Cathy or the situation in order to get what I wanted. But then once I got what I wanted, guess what? I went about my business, didn't until I wanted something else. Then I would
disappear. That was like on a cartoon. Like, wait, where'd he go?
Right? That's a one-sided. In fact, it was a toxic relationship because it was all about me.
No, it was actually all about me, right? And so it was like, okay, you know, I'm connecting with Ron to get what I want. And so as you look at your relationship, we want you to start thinking about the cycles in your relationship, your current relationship or past relationships, because in the next segment, we're going to talk about why it's important to recognize what type of relationship you're in.
So when we come back, we're going to continue to ask the question, can you fix a one-sided relationship? Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron Tijerina.
And I'm Cathy Tijerina. And today we're talking about, can you fix a one-sided relationship?
You know, earlier we talked about what is it, but now we want to talk about why is it important to really recognize and to answer the question, can you fix a one-sided relationship? When you think about you're a husband and wife, maybe you're cohabitating, and maybe you have children. You know, why is this important to recognize? Because people learn what they see, and they will duplicate, replicate, impersonate, do what they're taught by what they see. So kids, for example, if they see you in a one-sided relationship, mom and dad, they see the way that you're living together, guess what? They too will grow up and act that way, thinking that it's okay to be toxic in a relationship.
Or to put up with somebody else that is treating them in a toxic relationship, right? So when we think about the big why is when you're in a toxic relationship, which is a one-sided relationship, then all of your potential, all of your self-worth, all of your own value is being sucked out of you. It's very easy to become gaslit. And that means that somebody's constantly finding ways to pick at you, to poke at you, and knows exactly what button to push to get you to react. Right? And so then you're constantly feeling like it must be me. It must be me. So self-doubt starts coming in and you will never be able to be successful. Listen carefully. When you are in a relationship that is completely one-sided, you will not reach your goals. You will begin to self-doubt. You won't even recognize what your goals are anymore because all of your energy is spent on self-doubt and trying to fix a relationship when you're not the problem.
If you're not thriving, if you're not dreaming, if you're not living in hope in your relationship, then what's the problem? There's something there that's going on that you need to look at and need to recognize. Toxic relationships will suffocate your dreaming, will suffocate your hope, will suffocate everything about what it means to live, what it means to be alive. A toxic relationship is poisonous not only to you, but to anybody else around you.
So, you think about, oh, wow, well, this is private. What happens between me and my partner, nobody else knows. Nobody else is affected by it. But I promise you, it's not only infecting you and your partner, but it's infecting everybody that comes in your sphere of influence. Just because you're in denial, thinking nobody else can see it, doesn't mean that's true. Everybody in your sphere of influence can see it. They recognize that you're in a toxic relationship. Even if you're the one that's acting selfishly, everybody around you knows, wow, I don't know why he or she's being such a jerk. They treat their partner awful and you're losing respect. It doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. You could be the partner that's not giving any energy to your relationship or the partner that's giving everything they've got to the relationship. It is toxic. And you are destroying your reputation. People are watching you and they're losing respect for you as an individual. You are not invisible.
Another reason why this is important to really understand is because one of the things as a family, as a couple, that we help and we encourage you to is to build a legacy, not only for you, but for generations to come. But if you're being stifled or you're doing the stifling, right, then you are a poison in your relationship and in your environment. Well, we want you to become the cure. We want you to become the antidote. But you got to recognize if this is a one-sided relationship, how do you fix it? Can it be fixed? And the truth is, when you don't recognize that you're the poison or the other person's the poison, or maybe both of you are the poison, it cannot be fixed because one person has to come to a place in their evolution, in their growth to understand and humble themselves to where, you know what? I am the problem. I need help. I need to fix my attitude, fix the way I think, and fix the way I see the other person, right? We need to change our attitude about our relationships.
Now, when we are in denial and when we refuse to look at it for what it is, then we are actually cultivating a culture for domestic violence, for intimate partner violence. Because when we don't care and we're in a one-sided relationship, then that animosity begins to boil underneath, and then eventually it's going to come to the surface like a volcano. And there's going to be some type of domestic abuse, whether it's mental, emotional, or physical, or all of the above. And now it's really important that we recognize why we don't want to be in a one-sided relationship, in an unhealthy environment. It poisons us, it poisons the other person, and it poisons our relationship and everybody in our sphere of influence. You start like losing friends because you're infecting your environment. It's so important that you recognize, number one, what is a toxic relationship? What is a one-sided relationship? Number two, why is it important that I not continue on in a one-sided relationship? If you want to achieve your goals, you want to be healthy, then you've got to recognize it.
This is not easy. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with each other. And sometimes the person who's the perpetrator in this, what we're talking about, the toxic relationship, who's not giving or not helping the relationship grow, but the other person is always putting in all their energy and receiving nothing back, that is a very, very dangerous situation, right? Because you're looking at your own self-worth and you're seeing no value in yourself to where you're able to continually pour into your partner, but your partner is not pouring back into you. Where is your self-worth? Where is your self-value?
When we come back, we're going to talk about how to recognize if you're in a toxic relationship and also what you need to do. So stay tuned and we'll be right back.
welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron Tijerina.
And I'm Cathy Tijerina.
And today we're talking about, can you fix a one-sided relationship?
Ooh, we've talked about what we mean by a one-sided relationship and how toxic that is. We talked about why it's so important to understand the toxicity of a one-sided relationship. And now we're going to talk about how do you actually determine whether or not your relationship is a one-sided relationship, or if you're maybe just in this stagnant state as a couple.
You know, in the world that we live in today, everybody's filming something, right? So recently we watched a video where clearly this couple was in a state of disarray. They were upset with one another. The man was cooking on the grill while the wife or the significant other was filming from the house. Well, the man cooked the food, and what did he do after he put the food on the plate? He spit on it, right? He had an attitude problem.
Healthy people don't spit in other people's food. This is a clear red flag, a clear indicator that they are in an unhealthy relationship. It's a toxic relationship. Let me say that again. Healthy people don't spit in other people's food, period. And so as you think about your relationship and you say, wow, you know what? Let me really assess, how am I doing in my relationship? You know, is my relationship healthy, or are we stagnant, or is it toxic? So we're going to give you 4 steps to take to know, number 1, if it's toxic, and number 2, to make a decision on what next. So the first one is ask your friends. I promise you, if you start asking people in your sphere of influence and you say to them, listen, tell me the truth. What do you see when you see us together? You know, tell me what you honestly think about my current relationship.
And you have to be bold and humble enough to hear what others have to say. The second thing is you got to have a conversation with your significant other. We call this a courageous conversation, where if there is this toxic relationship going on, you got to bring it to the table, bring it to the light in order to move forward. Because in order to get where you want to go, you have to talk about it.
Now, this is a tough conversation because you're going to take the information you get back from your friends and you're going to say, okay, I'm validated in the sense that I'm feeling that this is not a healthy relationship. And then you're going to set a time, you're going to have that courageous conversation. And as you're having that conversation, you're going to pick up on both the verbal and the nonverbal cues to know whether or not your partner is like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going through a rough time. I'm really sorry. I realize I have not been honoring towards you. Or if your partner's like, well, you know what? You treat me like dirt. This is all your fault, and goes back into a victimization mode, that is another huge red flag. Again, we all have seasons of where we're stagnant, where maybe we're not connecting like we used to, but that's different than having a toxic relationship.
So the third thing is, after you've gone through those first 1 and 2, now you got to make a decision. You got to decide, is this worth the effort? Is this really how I want to live my life? I'm putting in all the work, right? And I'm getting nothing in return. Is the return of your investment worth the poison that you're experiencing? And so you got to ask yourself, do I stay in or do I leave?
And you're going to learn a lot from your conversation. You're going to take that into consideration as you make your decision. Because if your partner is willing to work on your relationship and they're like, you know what, let's put the work in. Then it's like, okay, we can put a timeline and say, okay, we're going to start working on this. We're going to come back together and we're going to reevaluate our relationship in 6 months. Then we're going to do it again in another 3 months. So you're constantly on this continuous quality improvement plan together. And that's how healthy couples thrive.
And then the last one is, now you got to make the action. You got to do it, right? You can't just keep talking about it. If you say you're going to go seek some help, you're going to go get a life coach, you're going to go to a marriage retreat, you're going to go somewhere to help your relationship, well, now you got to do it, right? Don't just put it down on paper. Make an action step to this Saturday, this week, this month, whatever it is we are going to, and whatever that would be, fill in the blank. But you have to take the first steps. In order for you to grow, you have to move forward.
If you are in a toxic relationship and your partner is unwilling to change, get out. I cannot say that enough. Get out. If you are in an unhealthy relationship and your partner, hear me carefully, is not willing to change and work on it with you, then you need to get out of that relationship. Now, if you're in an unhealthy stage in your relationship and your partner is willing to put in the effort and you can put in the effort together, then it's worth the effort, because you can move your relationship from a place of unhealthy to healthy. But it takes both of you. It takes a commitment on both sides. So when we talk about making that decision, you're making that decision based upon both of your willingness to put the effort into changing your relationship or unwillingness. And once you make that decision, you must act on that decision. Stay or go.
I want to add one more thing. Now, this is a scary place to be in your relationship because you're challenging yourself and you're challenging your partner. Hey, let's move forward. Let's grow. Let's talk about this. Because if you've been practicing this negative behavior, this toxic way of life for quite some time, then that has become a habit and it seems normal. But now we want to take you from a place of where it's toxic, where it's poison, and we want you to put you on a path of success where the both of you can thrive and grow and become healthy.
And recognizing the difference between whether or not it's situational or whether or not it is just the way that it is very important in making this decision. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to tie it all up with some final tips. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
I'm your coach, Tremaine Hall. We're looking forward to getting you to the next level in where you want to be in fitness. Our whole method is to make you mentally tough and also physically strong. We're going to start with dynamic warm-up, lower core, upper body, and also full body blast. Get ready to take your fitness to the next level with TYRO Fit and Stenos.
Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron Tijerina.
And I'm Cathy Tijerina. And today we've been talking about, can you fix a one-sided relationship?
You know, we've looked at that question in a lot of different angles, but the truth is you have to be honest with yourself. As we sum this whole conversation up, the truth is you can't fix a one-sided relationship. If both of you are not willing to change, if both of you are not willing to put in the effort that it takes to really grow, to really thrive, and to really create a better world for not only you, but for any of those around you, you have to put the work in. But if there's one of you who says, you know what, it's my way or the highway, and they carry that attitude day in, day out, year after year, then it's time to what? Make that tough decision, that courageous decision, and get out.
So the truth is you can fix a one-sided relationship if you are both willing to work on it. But you have to make a hard decision where you say, you know what, it's not an option to stay the same. And when you decide that together, that it's not an option to stay the same, it gives you one of two options. Either it's like, okay, it's time to go because my partner refuses to change, or we're going to both put in the effort and we're going to fix this.
Now it comes time to asking yourself this question. Which side of the tracks are you on? Are you the one that's always receiving and never giving? Or are you the one always giving and never receiving? Even in this relationship with Cathy and I'm expecting a return of my investment. So I am willing to pour in a lot into this relationship for not only to be healthy, but for us to grow together as a couple.
So if you realize and recognize inside of you that you are one side or the other of a one-sided relationship, it's time for change. You want to build a better tomorrow for yourself and all those around you, then you need to take a hard look at how you are addressing your interpersonal relationship. You need to be committed to change, and you need to reach out, and you need to take advantage of all the resources at your disposal in order to help you become better and therefore make your relationship better and healthier.
You cannot do this alone, right? Up until this time, we have been working on relationships all by ourselves. I was trying to fix this all by myself. And it wasn't until I humbled myself and began to ask and read and seek advice of others who could help me become a better person, not only for myself, but for us.
So as you begin to work on your relationship and you establish accountability around you to help you become better, I promise you that you will find that you'll begin to thrive. Joy will return, and you will actually have a solid foundation for your future.
So thank you for allowing us to be part of your journey. And always remember, until next time, that we are rooting for you.